Hey team, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the JBU podcast. I am excited to get into it today. Just inside jokes no one else is going to understand. Today we're going to be doing a Q&A. Before we get into it, Andrea, how's prep going? Fill us in.
It's going well. I'm 3.5 weeks in, and I'm losing about 2 pounds a week on average. So I did the pre-prep phase, which I lost a bit there, and then I started out at 157, and I was 150.4 this morning. So
Lose it pretty quickly.
I'm still within that point where I know I'm getting leaner, but it kind of looks like I'm just getting skinnier. But I'm like at the edge where I'm going to start looking a lot leaner now going forward, I think. So,
That is a very real thing though. At the start of a diet, you'll just be a little bit flatter, a little bit more depleted. You're not so lean yet that you start to see like new shred striation and you just like kind of look a little bit more skinny fat and worse than you did before. You just got to
mhm.
grind through it for a few weeks. And on the other side of it, you look great. But yeah, you have to be okay with pushing through that. You're losing pretty quickly then for you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I mean, we've been, I wouldn't say aggressive yet, but cardio is at 325 calories per day for 5 days a week,
Okay.
um, which is more than what I ended my photo shoot uh, fat loss phase at. So, in that way, it's a little bit more aggressive, just like to start out with, I would say.
How long is that?
Food is about 25 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not
If I'm
bad.
like uncomfortable the whole time on my elliptical.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's tiring. The worst is the day after a leg day, but otherwise it feels pretty easy.
Okay. So things are moving along pretty nicely so far. You guys
Yeah.
don't have like a projected weight, right? What was it? Or was it like 110?
A 110 would
I'm
be
just kidding. 40 more pounds to go. Just joking. Go on.
uh so not really. Whenever I was getting ready for the photo shoot, I asked out of curiosity, what do you think my stage weight would be? And she said probably around 130.
Okay.
So I don't really know because I've built muscle since then, but I imagine it's probably still pretty close to 130.
Seems pretty accurate. Cool. I'm excited. Already, like I can tell in like the updates you post, even like your training videos, your physique is starting to look a lot different. You're definitely getting leaner. So it'll be cool to watch all of this come to fruition. Natalie, how goes the road to 250?
I'm moving in the completely opposite direction here.
Have we crossed paths
Not
yet?
yet, but we're getting there. Andrea and I keep talking about when we're the same weight. We're gonna do a same weight comparison because it's my prediction. We should run a lottery. I think it's gonna be like 3 weeks, 3, 4 weeks.
Is it that far away? I thought you were already like there.
No, no, I'm still hanging out in like the 145s ish.
Word. Okay.
Yeah, it won't be too
Yeah,
long.
not much longer. Other than that, good. Just been dealing with like my back's been freaking out. Like it's one of those things where it's just like moving around. It's like you gotta like take care of one area and then all of a sudden it's the other side. It's like really? Um, but on the bright side, at least it's not my shoulder. So, but other than that, I had some labs drawn last week, so I am waiting to get those back. Should be any day now, so I can kind of game plan with my coach. But the question is are we going to compete this year or next? Um, and I am in no hurry, really. Like I'll do whatever he thinks, but I'm actually at this point leaning towards next year.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's like I mean, I guess it's only March, but it does seem like we would need to like know and be pushing for that very, very soon. To me, I imagine, I don't know how it feels for you, but to me, it seems like you literally just competed.
It doesn't. It
It's,
doesn't. It doesn't. Things have been really productive, like in the last since
Mhm.
really. I was gonna say last 6 months. Which yeah, I guess it has been. But I was prep for me like what didn't wasn't it didn't end up being that costly in terms of like my health. Luckily. And I remember getting my labs back after my shows and I was like, "Oh, really? Like, I feel like I got away with that. So there, it wasn't like a massive like recovery phase in that sense. It was more like just getting my food high and like, getting my,
That's
my
a good
body
point.
back to like fighting shape, so to speak. Um, so yeah, it's like you can never, I don't think you can ever go wrong by waiting because there are always shows. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And so from that end, of course, like I'm excited to do it again. But if I'm, of course, I want to be competitive. And I don't, it's one of those things where like if I were to compete this summer, would it like I don't think it would be wrong or bad, but it would be like how much better would I look? Whereas next year it's like, of course I'd look better. You know what I mean? Um,
And if you did just like barely miss your pro card, you would go into it being like, dang it, I should have just put it off to next year, you know?
yeah, yeah. So I'm fine either way. I think he wanted to do labs because initially we were like planning to go. And then that would, I think, kind of dovetail me into like a bit of a pre-prep. That's kind of my thinking.
Oh,
But
interesting.
because yeah, it would pretty much be go time again around the corner. So I'm happy to just like
Crazy.
eat and
Huh.
lift though.
It's a good life. Yeah. You have a ways to go yet to get to 250, so
Yeah,
gotta keep pushing it until then.
next month. Next month.
Cool. S- But yeah, you guys both kind of going in the complete opposite direction. Both crushing it though. I am again stoked to see you compete, Andrea. Let's get into Q&A then. First question. Let's start with HRT for women over 40. Progesterone, estrogen, and then she left this out, but testosterone as well. You should include in there. Benefits versus detriments and other options. Anyone dying to take this one initially?
I mean, I want to start with some of the lowest hanging fruit of the benefits, and that's quality of life.
For sure.
So, to kind of recap for folks, we know that with aging as women, we will see our sex hormones, so progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone, all decline. That's just a fact. And there's no quote getting it back. That just happens with aging. Men's testosterone also declines as they age. And so the idea of HRT is like it's hormone replacement therapy. So you're really just trying to bring those, and I mean, thyroid also falls under the scope of HRT. But the idea is to just bring your hormones back to an appropriate level for you so that you can live your life. So what we can see is that it can like minimize some of the effects of like perimenopause, menopause, um, and then also just quality of life in terms of energy, libido, focus, like clear thinking, things of that nature. So that's my overview of like, why it is impactful from a lifestyle perspective. And then, of course, I
Yeah.
think we'll get into all the other reasons in terms of physique development.
Yeah, for sure. I think, but looking past the physique scope, because I think a lot of times people think like this is just something from like, hey, maybe like if I have my testosterone will help me build more muscle, but I'm happy with the amount of muscle I have already, right? So I don't care. But I mean, when you're looking at like someone entering menopause and like, why, if this is a natural process, like why would we get on HRT? It just removes a lot of symptoms that do lower your quality of life, right? Our energy levels, our libido, but other things like you improve brain function. It helps maintain heart health. Estrogen is very cardiovascular protective, right? Whereas when your estrogen levels drop, risk of a cardiovascular event does go up quite a lot. Um, Maintain bone density and production, right? So HRT, like as you said, past menopause, like once you're in the menopause, it's not like we can get this back. Like we can get your sex hormones online back online naturally by just like supplementing with the right things. It's like basically HRT is the only option to get it back there. So there's not necessarily alternatives. When we're looking at the benefits versus detriments, anyone want to dig into that? Otherwise, I can take it away.
I mean, I think all of the things that we have just been talking about that it supports are the benefits. And
I
and
mean, when we're
so
looking at like, go ahead.
And so, like, quality of life, if you are starting to see a decline in sex hormones, which she asked about over 40, most of the time by that point, we are seeing a decline in sex hormones, at least testosterone and progesterone, and estrogen is probably not too far behind. Um, and so, if you have started to have a decline in those, you're going to have better energy, better mood, better response to your training, better recovery, and then all of the other things that you just kind of listed out health wise, Jeremiah. And then detriments, the only detriment I would think of is there's just the upkeep of doing it for the rest of your life, which I mean, most of us are using supplements and things like that, and we don't really think about it as an upkeep type of thing whenever we have to take a multivitamin or fish oil daily. But whenever it's like testosterone injection, for example, it's a little bit different because you have to, poke your arm a couple times a week.
You guys don't inject your fish oil?
Some people, it's funny the way that some people kind of think or talk about HRT because they're like, oh, well, once you start, you have to keep going. You can't just like stop. And it's like, well, yeah, you can. It's just that your levels are going to go back to where they were before.
Go back to
Yeah.
how
Right.
naturally
So
would
it's like
fall.
it's not
Yeah.
like it's not necessarily like you're signing your life away. If I can't, I'm trying to imagine a situation where circumstances change and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But like the worst thing that's going to happen is like your testosterone is going to go right back down into the sewer where it was before you started.
Right.
Um,
Now, I would say detriment too, though, if you have the wrong
sure.
prescription, there is, and I call that out specifically because all three of us have seen that a ton, where women will get prescribed like male level of dosages for testosterone, which is obviously not great. But if you have somebody that doses it properly, then I really don't see any other downside.
Starting at like 3 milligrams per week. And this is not medical advice, but that's probably like a good starting point. Not like,
Sure.
was it 150? I think 150 was like one of the starting doses that one of your clients had, Andrea, which is again like
Mhm.
where I started.
Yeah.
It's yes, so you want to be very you want to have a good doctor, which is quite important, but that is one thing I see as well. Like a lot of clients have had such a bad experience with testosterone, especially in the past, because whoever was prescribing it, I don't know like what we were doing. It was like, well, I just felt terrible on it. And it's like, okay, well, send me your blood work. And it's like, yeah, your testosterone was like 350. Like it should, that's insane, right? Like we're so much higher than we should have been here. So yes, we should be within like when we're in the natural, normal, like quote unquote optimal range will be something that does add a lot to quality of life. From like a little bit more technical perspective, I mean, I was just talking to a client about this the other day, and I think I sent you guys this list of like benefits, like estrogen, why it's important to be in the right place. It helps with nutrient partitioning, glucose utilization. So a lot of body composition benefits are we're better able to use glucose as fuel and shuttle it to the muscle cell. Very important for fat loss and fat oxidation as well. Actually, I think people think of like, for some reason, people associate estrogen with like storing body fat in their belly, whereas really it helps a lot with fat oxidation. It helps with HDL cholesterol production, helps build muscle. It really aids the recovery process. It is important for sexual health. As I mentioned before, lots of cardiovascular protective benefits. Aids in the formation of neurotransmitters like serotonin, which is super important for fighting depression, irritability, etc. Um, Again, lots of muscle repair benefits. Progesterone, of course, like when you are premenopausal, it will help regulate the menstrual cycle. Also, very much has a calming effect. It helps aid sleep quality, which in turn adds a lot to our quality of life. Testosterone helps us build muscle. It supports bone growth and bone density. There are some potential neuroprotective benefits. Supports sexual health and again body composition, energy levels, drive, mood, motivation. So there's so much more to this than just body composition, but it does also aid body composition a lot. But again, even when we're looking at like fat loss, like if I was having this conversation with a client because she was mentioned, well, like yes, my sex hormones are low, And again, like I'm never going to push someone one direction or the other. I just want to educate. But fat loss is a main goal. But hey, I have plenty of muscle, right? So like, does this really matter for me? Where again, like sex hormones aren't just building muscle. There are so many other variables with our body composition as a whole. And again, like outside of that, quality of life for many years in the future. Anyone have anything else to add there?
So we do see muscle decline as we get older as well, which is why it's important to keep strength training, eating your protein, things of that nature. But that's also where this comes into play again with like preserving muscle mass. So even if like, oh, I'm really just happy with my current muscle mass, said no one ever. I don't know, not me. But it's like even if you are really happy with your current level of muscularity, you I assume you want to at least hold on to that.
Sure. Cool. At what point do you see definition in muscle, not just when pumped or flexing?
When you're jacked.
Natalie, you have some good muscle definition. Tell us.
Thank you, Jeremiah. So kind today. When you're honestly, I was kind of being flippant and kidding, and I was like, when you're jacked, but like when you're jacked. In all seriousness, when you have enough muscle mass and you are lean enough to see it. And that's the short answer, I think, and the longer answer would be like you likely need to go through several iterations of cutting and building, so that over time this is all under that umbrella of body recomposition. So that's how you get those like wild same weight transformations of like these two pictures are the same weight and like I look leaner and so much more jacked and on the right or something. That's what that is. Um, we say this all the time, but most people will not get to their quote goal physique with like one build and one cut. If they do, awesome. That's great. And you probably will also make great progress. But to just like walk around jacked, you just got to be at this process for a long time. And some people will
Yeah,
need more time than
the
others, of course.
I think for everyone, it will probably take longer than you
Yeah.
want. And the body fat is an important variable there as well. Where, I mean, the leaner you are, the easier it is to see muscle, but we do have to have muscle underneath there to see. But I was just having this conversation with a client earlier today about she's added a good amount of muscle across the board and like we're seeing huge changes in her upper body. And she was like, I can't wait to start building in my lower body. Like we're in a diet phase and I gave her the timeline, like how much longer I thought it would be. And I think it was like double the amount of time she thought she had left dieting. She's like, well, I really just want to start building so I can see the changes in my lower body. And it's like, you built a lot of muscle in your lower body. You just have a lot more body fat on your lower body versus your upper. So for us to see what you want here as well, to a degree, we're going to have to get leaner. Now, a lot of people just don't have enough muscle in their lower body to see the changes, even if we were to get leaner. But it's important to understand like the balance between the two as well.
I wish that more people had the attitude of like, I really enjoy this work because it falls under the realm of self-development, and I really enjoy
Mhm.
it and I'm just here for a good time and a long time. You know, because I think everyone it's literally that like road trip like am I there yet? Am I there yet? Am I there yet? And like you asking if you're there yet doesn't make it go any faster, and I think there's a little bit of setting expectations as well. It's like just buckle in because honestly, the longer you're at this, the more return on investment you're gonna see because it does compound over time. I know we talk about things like the more experienced you are, the rate of muscle gain is slower, things of that nature, but it really does compound over time. And I think if more people just had were ready to make the mental and emotional investment in doing this over a long period of time, they'd be so much happier within the process and so much more reasonable within their expectations because it's like after every single cycle of build and diet, am I there yet? Oh, I'm still not there yet. But like it's such a disappointed, like I just thought I'd have more muscle, and it's like whereas if you just kind of look at it more as like checkpoints along the way, like, oh, okay, this is where I'm at now, back to the drawing board. I mean, this stuff is fun and like there is I don't want to dilly dally, with my clients either. It's like I want to get down to business and get them their results, but it's it's gonna take more than one iteration. I say that all the time.
Yeah. No, I think that is so important though. Some people are in such a rush to
Get
get the result, so
some
desperately need to
final
like see the result, and it's like,
final end date at some final end.
right.
Like, no, you don't, like, it doesn't stop. Like, you don't
Yeah.
arrive and you're like, phew, I'm glad that's over. Like, next project. Like,
Right.
that's not how it's gonna be.
Think about how sad that would be though if it was. It was just like, yeah, I'm good with this. I'm never gonna think about, like the whole fun of it is in the process of it. Like if you're depending on that, like, okay, once I get to this point, I'm gonna be so happy and I'm never gonna think about like how my body looks again. Like that shit's never gonna happen. And you're just gonna have been miserable the entire, like it's not a realistic point, but some people are like put so much urgency on like I have to see the result as quickly as possible. Like I've been having with another client, I've been having this conversation every week the last couple of weeks. Like, hey, we're 3 weeks in and I haven't lost weight yet. Well, I don't expect you to lose weight yet. Remember, like we laid out this timeline. We talked through it quite consistently with like I don't expect you to be losing weight yet. Like our goal is a primer phase. There's a ton of like former thyroid issues and things like that we're working through. And it's okay, right? If she's listening, it's okay. But also you need to hear this again if you are listening. So listen up. But we're in this place where it's like I'm just frustrated because I haven't seen progress yet. When it's like, dude, you're already lean. Like, I don't think you're gonna get lighter to get the body composition we want. So first, like, we don't need to focus on the weight too much, but also we are like 3, 4 weeks in. Like, where is this timeline coming from? We're so urgently focused on like, I need to make progress quicker. I need to make progress quicker. We're stressing ourselves out so much over it when like that's in itself is a thing that holds so many people back. Like we bounce from thing to thing because it's like, well, it's been 3 weeks and I'm not seeing progress, so I'm going to go do this thing and go do this thing, and like people just get so stressed about it in itself, where it's like, this is such a big part of the problem. But again, it's like the self-imposed timeline where it's like, what's the rush? Like, worst case, you keep not making the same progress you haven't made for the last however many years, right? Like it's such an interesting thing that I think really is just a huge issue for so many people.
Yeah, especially with like the wanting to rush the dieting thing. It's like, when can we diet? Let's
Exactly.
it's like, okay, so worst case scenario, you have a better shot at building some tissue.
Right.
Like so it's like we're never, I mean, again, it's that conversation about how people just kind of perceive not dieting as being like, or being at maintenance as like being stagnant. And like that's
Hmm.
not true. If there are things we need to work on with your health first, then that is progress. It's just not going to look like how you want it to look. So the problem is not necessarily the process. I mean, if done correctly, of course. The problem is like your perception of what progress is and needs to look like.
Very well put. Honestly, I think that ties in very well to the questioning. What traits/characteristics do your clients that achieve elite results have compared to average? I would say first, if we're looking at someone who comes in and just like immediately is making great progress, they just come in and just follow the plan exactly as laid out. It's okay to ask questions. There are oftentimes things we need to change, but there's a very direct correlation between the more changes someone asks for initially in the plan and their speed of progress. And it's an inverse relationship, right? The more changes we ask for initially, the slower the progress. I think that similarly, like the more someone is trying to coach themselves, where again, it's like we want feedback, we want to know past history, but also you're probably here because you haven't been able to get yourself the result you wanted. You might be a coach yourself. A good amount of clients who are coaches, but especially when we're looking at gym pop clients, it's like, I do want your input, but also I want you to understand I have literally coached thousands of people to the result you want. You have coached zero. So I do want you to take like a lot more stock, in my opinion, of what's the best path here than your own. Um, but I'd really like truly, it's just something that's so important to consider if we're really like fighting against the plan, if this is the outcome we want. I think that really like kind of speaking to the result you mentioned, Natalie, like your definition of success is almost like different than your coach's. A lot of times the most successful clients almost have this attitude of like, okay, if coach is happy, I'm happy, right? Now, it's understanding as well, like, it doesn't do us any favors to just bullshit you and tell you we're happy if we're not actually happy, right? If we need to improve, we'll tell you where we need to improve. But if it's like, hey, I'm stoked about how this phase is going, we've accomplished this, which is exactly what we want. Again, maybe this phase's goal isn't weight loss, but we're making progress in the direction that your coach wants. Again, like a lot of times it's like, okay, cool. I will just proceed along this route then and just tell me when I need to change directions. I have a whole list here, so feel free to hop in whenever.
I second what you said in terms of like the amount that someone wants to change up front. I think, we'll all sit here and admit that coaching is for sure collaboration. Like we want your input, we like it, no two plans are the same, like no one's getting like a cookie cutter plan or anything of the sort, but there's something about like your receptiveness to coaching, your coachability, like your ability to be coached when you sign on and it's like, I want the results that I signed on because I want the results that you're getting your clients. Okay, cool. So here's the blueprint for like how we're going to get you there. Okay, but like actually could I swap this for this? And like I actually really feel this better in my, glutes. So what about this? And like what about making these changes? And it's like, so basically you just want to do the things that you were doing before, but under my supervision. So what's
When
different then? Like because you came here to do things differently because you want a different result. So now that we're just cramming in your old lifestyle, your old training or exercising, your old nutrition plan under my tutelage, what's different? Like how are we going to get that different result? And I think this is a self-awareness thing because I definitely don't think that people know that that's what they're doing when they ask those questions. It's not like no one's coming from like a nefarious position, I'm gonna like shoot this plan full of holes or anything. I think they think that they're like advocating for their preferences, but change is scary. And I think that sometimes a new plan confronts people with the changes they didn't really realize they might need to make. And I just don't think people are necessarily, I don't think they necessarily understand or are prepared for like, oh, I really do have to do something different.
It might not just be dieting. It might be, hey, we need to reduce your daily
Yeah.
steps. It might be we need to address your digestion and you need to eat less xanthan gum or whatever it may be. Andrea, go on.
Well, I was gonna say when you say that coaching is a collaboration, sometimes that can be taken as a collaboration in terms of how we are getting there, but it's more of we are we want to hear what your goal is. We're not putting our goal for you onto you. So we're collaborating on like where is it that you want to go, not necessarily what is the path to get there and what are the steps we need to take.
That's a good way to put it, I think. And I think that can be something that gets, like, I don't want that to get misconstrued in these conversations. There's no, like, hey, you have to, like, I want to compete, so you're going to do exactly what I do, right? That's not at all how we approach it. I have some clients who don't track their macros at all. That's not like what I want most of my clients to track their macros, but like, I have some clients who don't. Like, I have people who take wildly different approaches, right? It's all over the board depending on what the person wants to accomplish. But that's a very good way to put it, Andrea. They train really hard. That's another very consistent thing with the people who get the best results. And they're okay spending a long time in phases other than fat loss. I think even like you two talking about where your body weights are, right? Like, Andrew, you're in the 150s, Natalie, you're in the 140s, and you're like under 5 foot tall. Like that's Natalie's not actually under 5 foot tall.
Close,
But
apparently.
another common conversation I've been having is like, dude, we're probably not going to lose that much weight to get the physique you want. For most of the women we coach, like the goal physique ends up being quite a bit heavier than like an initial goal weight they had in mind. Very important one is I think the most successful clients are typically good at riding the emotional midline, like never too high, never too low. If we had a great week or we saw a great week of progress, we saw a big drop, yeah, they might be more excited about it, but it's never like, holy shit, I'm so damn excited about this, and like this is the best. Nor is it like devastating if there's a week where they didn't. It's like sometimes there's a week where they didn't progress as much, and it's again they can like take that in stride, and again just trust that we are on the right process. Um, they always have an extremely consistent routine. They have a lot of structure for their weeks and days in terms of like the times they train, the times they do their cardio. Like you will typically get, it's not that you have to do this to be successful, but it seems to just be a trend of these people. You'll get like the same training videos at the same day and the same time every week from them, right? They'll submit their check-in at like almost the same time every week. I know even for me, like every week I submit my check-in between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. I imagine you guys is like the same as well, where it's very routine, very structured with these things in order for us to be able to be consistent and successful with them. Um, there, I would also say they're never the ones who are most stressed about will this work for me or will I respond to this, which kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about earlier. Um, Sometimes individuals just let themselves get so stressed and almost like even if we are responding, we'll just like, well, what if it doesn't work for me in the future, right? Like I know I'm losing right now and things are going well, but like I'm worried that like what if this stops working for me? What if X happens? And people again can just like ruminate it on so much, create so much stress around like what if I don't respond? What if it doesn't work for me? And the reality is stress does impact your progress. It impacts our recovery. It impacts our fat loss. It will make it harder. But are so much in their own way in that sense. I would say as well, the most successful clients typically, at least when we're talking women, typically are willing to get labs done and we know what their internal health looks like. I think that's underrated, but that gives us so much better insight because the reality is there's very often if you are, especially if you're like in your mid 30s and beyond, there are oftentimes things we need to address here that will have a big impact on your results. I think that's a very underrated one. Kind of similar to what we were talking about before, Natalie, they find a way to enjoy the process and don't complain about things they're choosing to do. Uh, that is something I remind myself a lot in fat loss as well. Like it's easy to be like, oh, this sucks, I'm hungry. But nobody's making you do this. Your coach isn't making you do this. This is what we signed up for, right? So we might as well do it with a good attitude. They communicate struggles, challenges, and understand they're not a failure, but how we learn and grow. Right, Natalie, I heard you say once we win or we learn, right? I don't know if you actually came up with that quote, but it's a great one. I use it all the time. Really like these struggles and challenges that you have in coaching, it's also like we're not going to be pissed at you if you're struggling. That's great. We want you to bring those things to us because that is exactly how we work through that. That is an obstacle that you didn't know how to work through. And that is really like a big part of the value of coaching is we can talk you through, okay, we struggled with this dinner out. Nice. Let's work through like, here's how we could better manage it the next time. As long as you're willing to communicate those things, bring that up. That is exactly how you grow into the person who can better manage that in the future. But if you don't communicate that, we never work through that and you never grow into who you need to actually get to where you want to be. But also they're proactive about communicating potential obstacles they might need guidance around. So it's oftentimes like, hey, I have this coming up. Can you help me game plan for this? Or like, I see whatever being an issue, or again, just communicating your struggles and being proactive about that. Um, Anything else y'all would add to that extensive list of traits of elite clients?
A couple, and I just spaced out.
All good. Okay, let's move on then. Talk through how you each approach check-ins. What are you looking at, and does it change depending on what phase the client is in? Anyone want to kick this off before I continue to ramble?
I'll say that the first thing that I look at with a check-in are photos. So
Yeah.
before I read anything, um, I try to because I want an unbiased eye. Like I don't want to go look at a photo and be like, well, I know she had a really tough week, so it's like I kind of honestly like I would say like 8.5 times out of 10 I can kind of tell. I'm rarely kind of surprised with like, oh wow, she had a really bad week, but like the physique looks better than ever. Usually I can kind of tell what kind of week someone had, if they're struggling with like digestion. You can see a lot via facial expressions as well, by the way, which is why I'm a big fan of always smiling because you should be proud of your work even if it was a bad week. You still showed up for your check-in. So I appreciate a smile and my clients know that. But I look at photos first, and then I'm looking at the other kind of metrics that we take. So like our then I usually go to like their weight on the tracker, because that's like at the top of the tracker, and I kind of work my way down there. We have our check-in forms organized like kind of the way we want them to flow. So then I'm kind of like looking down at measurements, and a lot of times those things kind of validate one another. Like I'm like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. And then of course I'm looking at all the biofeedback. So like, but how is this person actually feeling? Um, and then so I look through all of that first, and then the last thing I'm going to look at is the like, what do you want me to know about this week? And that's when people usually drop things like, oh, it was a super busy week, or hey, I had a great week, like training felt great, it's like popping off. I'm like, cool. That's just kind of my flow. But I try to kind of make decisions about what I think needs to happen before I read that last part. And then I read the last part, and it's like, yeah, okay, we're good. We'll proceed with the plan. It's every now and again, it's like I'll make my decision about what I think needs to happen, where we need to go next. And then I read something that makes me pull back, like I had the I have like the most stressful week of my life next week. It's like, whoa, okay. Like, maybe I don't need to like dig you. Maybe this isn't the week to like make a move and dig you a little bit deeper here, or something. That would be an example. Um, yeah, that's my general flow.
I imagine
Trying to
ours
go
are all
about it
very
the same
similar.
way. Yeah. Top to bottom based on because we just already have our check-ins ordered in that way. But the question on like does the phase change things? It does. It does somewhat. Like whenever we're in a fat loss phase and digestion was really good, but then midsection measurements are up, and like those are things that I am that we'll care more about versus if we're in a phase where that makes sense. Like if we're reverse dieting and, you know, below the navel measurement came up a little bit because we're eating 50 more carbs per day. Well, that makes sense. But now is it trending up consistently? That we don't want. Like those sort of things I'll take into account differently based on the phase. And same thing with training progression. Like if we're in a build phase, I want to see like most things progressing on a consistent basis and that they're reporting that they're feeling really good in their training. Whereas if we're digging at the very end of a fat loss phase and there are some things not progressing, that makes sense. I'm fine with that,
Or
especially
even
if it's not our
regressing, maybe.
priority.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
cool. No, I mean, if I were to put it into, like, to simplify it into a checklist, I mean, my process would basically be first, I'm going to review what phase is the client in, what does our timeline look like, which is all again right there on the tracker, and then what notes did I leave on their check-ins over the last couple of weeks. So I'll leave like notes for myself throughout the week and from their previous check-in, just like a summary of what we talked about, action steps, etc. Like you said, Natalie, I'm going to first look at the visuals again, like one of because if you look at somebody's subjective feedback first, like, oh, this was a terrible week, or like this was a great week, and or whatever it may be, it's going to bias your feedback here. Where this is just unbiased, let's look at the visuals and then look at the objective data. So like, what do the actual weight trends look like? What do their body measurements look like? What is their biofeedback? To a degree, that being, what is objective there? What's that telling us? Review the subjective data. So again, like how they're feeling, a lot more of the biofeedback, etc. What do I see that needs to be addressed? So like, is training suffering? Do they have specific questions? Are there digestion issues, etc.? And then basically just lay the plan out, communicate it to the client. But that's like in short and sweet version of I think like what my flow looks like, and I think what everybody here's flow kind of looks like. Yeah.
It's also
Mhm.
it's interesting too, because we don't want to look at that subjective data first, because again, like I don't want to be biased with what my eye is seeing. But
Mhm.
it's funny because you'll see things like, oh my gosh, it was a terrible week and like my weight is up, or something of the sort, and like actually like that maybe the weekly average is down. There was just like a spike, or like maybe they were on their menstrual cycle, or like late luteal phase, where we could like maybe expect to see that trending up anyways, like right around ovulation or something like that. And it's like, yeah, that checks out. That doesn't make it a bad week or something like that. So sometimes it's also just because first of all, it's normal to lack objectivity with oneself. That's the whole point of hiring a coach is you're getting an objective eye. And then also like you aren't you like most of our clients haven't been doing this as long as we have or don't do this at all. They're not coaches themselves. So it's like you are not interpreting this the way that we are. And that's why you hired us.
Very well put. Cool. Where to start if I want to get into coaching?
Hire a coach.
Win a pro card. I'm just kidding.
That is a good start. Win your pro card and hire a coach.
Um,
No, I would.
Actually, I think Jeremiah,
Go ahead.
you should start this one off.
I feel like I've been talking nonstop on this podcast.
I don't know. I feel like I have been.
I feel like
I feel like I have been.
But okay, I'll continue. I was gonna say I feel like I have been. Okay, I agree though. I think Andrea hiring a coach. Also feel like I keep talking over Andrea, so I'm sorry. Hire a coach. Great first step. That is a huge one. That is so often overlooked. Like you're probably not going to know how to deliver a good service. You're not even going to know what good coaching should look like if you've never experienced it yourself. So if you want other people to trust you, hire you, and can just actually be good at it, hire someone who has been able to give others the results that you want, and think about the result that your ideal client probably wants, and hire the coach that you're working with to take you to that result. Sorry, my dog's having nightmares if there's noise in the background. Hey. And that's a great starting point, is just working towards that. And then, I think I talk to a lot of people who are like, I want to be coaching and like maybe even have like a nutrition certification, but have like just had that for a very long time and don't ever actually like, they don't like actively work with anyone. They don't post content. It's like hard. You wouldn't even really know they're a coach. I would create content, talk about what you're up to yourself, talk about your own journey, what you're doing with your coach, things you're learning, and then hustle and try to actually get some clients. I think a lot of people just wait so long to like, well, I want to wait until I feel ready before I do this. And you're just not until you actually start coaching people. Don't do it if you have no idea what you're doing. Like you should know the basics, but once you do, be very transparent. Like I coached my first couple of people. When I started coaching online, I just coached a couple friends for free. I like hit a couple of our friends up. I was like, hey, here's what I want to do. Can I coach you for free? And can I like talk about your process on my social media? And that's how I started. And that helped me kind of like figure out my systems and like how to actually do this online more. And again, just kind of documenting your own journey, documenting what you're doing with those clients. Then people will naturally like want to start working with you. But I think the biggest thing is just actually getting started working with people, and people try to like prepare so long for that, where there's so many like hypothetical coaching situations you could prepare for with like going through whatever course, but you're not really gonna like learn how to manage it well until you actually like coach someone and coach them through it. And then it's great to have mentors in your back pocket. Like hiring that coach is so helpful, but that also like the client problems you run into will show you, okay, where do I need to go learn more, right? That's where like so much of our education has come from. We saw a problem with like, even like the Prescript is a great example of it. Okay, we want to be able to better help clients work through whatever pain they're having, or like, well, why is this person having this issue with their hip? Why can't I get this person's RDL feeling better? Okay, let's take Prescript and we can figure this out, right? It'll kind of like point you in the right direction to solve those problems. That's where I'd start. What do you guys have to add?
The person that messaged me this question was saying we've actually had this conversation a couple times because she's been tossing this around for a long time. Like she just wants to coach, and for her it would be, this is actually a former client. For her it would be a career transition, which is a big decision for sure. Like if you're already well established in another field, and I don't, whatever your life looks like in terms of your family commitments and, mortgage payments and things of that nature. Because if you've built yourself up to like a senior position in another industry, then you are more than likely going to be taking many steps back in terms of like financial. So that's an important thing to consider. But she was like, I'm thinking of just like getting my PT cert and getting a job at like the gym down. It's like an Anytime Fitness situation down the road. And I said, honestly, do that. Do that. Like,
It's
and
great.
I said, and I was like, she was like, oh, well, should I do like NASM or like ISSA or like, I was like, pick one. Honestly,
They're all trash. It doesn't
I,
matter.
yeah, I was like, pick one with the understanding that it's going to be a money sink. Okay. Like you're just going to have to throw money at it so you can get your cert because no gym is going to allow you to like coach clients without a certification. Like it's
Right.
just the reality. So just like throw money at the one that you can get the fastest was honestly my honest advice to her. It's like whatever one you can get the fastest, throw money at it, do it, start helping people. I said absolutely get hired at your gym down the road, start helping people, be cool. So like be someone that people want to spend an hour of their time with. Um, get them results quickly so that or show I should say show them progress quickly, not get them the results because again, it's not a 90-day transformation, right? So get them progress, get them some wins quickly. Be the type of person that other people want to hang out with. Retain them. Ideally, they'll also refer their friends because they're like having such a great time with you. Maybe other gym goers are going to see that you actually give a shit and know what you're doing and they'll notice you in the gym and maybe like 6 months from now they'll be like, you know what, I am going to hire that person and build your stable of clients and invest in those clients because once you get them going, a lot of times you can then transition them to online. So you can start kind of like hybrid coaching people. So maybe now it's like, okay, I meet with you like once a week, but I'm doing your nutrition on the side or like, I'm programming your other training sessions remotely, but we're like hitting one a week, one a month together or whatever. And kind of like build your stable that way because I think it just comes down to like your portfolio. So you basically need to build a portfolio of results. And so then you have to reverse engineer that. How do I get a portfolio of results? And so this is what I'm saying. Like go get your cert, go coach some people in person. You I think nowadays you absolutely can start online if you want. But I do think that there is such value to like helping people's bodies move well in person. And also knowing how to
Yeah.
communicate with people. Again, like you're going to be that person that someone's got to spend an hour with.
Yeah. I think that in this situation, starting in person is incredible. And I didn't even understand the context, but no, I think that's perfect. And it is so much easier for you to stand out in that context. Like in that situation, your competition isn't everyone else online. You're not competing for
Yep.
clients with like us. You are just competing with the other people in the gym. And the bar, at least when I was training in person, the bar was so low. Like it is so easy for you to stand out. Actually, have a program for each of your clients. Show them that you're keeping track of their lifts, their progression. Show them, like, take the time to sit down with them, talk through their goals, get clear on like what the goal physique looks like, what is the goal outcome we want here. And again, like, lay out roughly, like, okay, here's like what I think getting there will look like. Consistently revisit, here's what we're working towards. Actually measure their progress in terms of things like for my clients, we do weekly body measurement check-ins, and like it wasn't the most accurate way to go about it, but I would ask like what their weights were like. I would keep track of their weight trends across the week. Like most in-person trainers aren't doing any of that shit. They're making up the workouts as they're taking people through it. They're never like doing like body measurements. Progress pictures is another thing where I do progress pictures with all of my clients monthly in person. And keeping track of all that, you will be able to show them actually, hey, we're changing or we're not changing. And here's like what we need to change to like make this happen. But just basically like going the extra mile, being more organized. As you said, Natalie, being able to show them progress. A lot of the clients, like in-person coaches, are just winging it. If you just do that and just like talk to people on the gym floor, if when you're not busy, all you have to do is just like, hey, how's your training session going? Don't like be weird about it and like be super salesy, but just they'll inevitably bring up something like, oh, this feels like shit. Because like, and then you can like, oh, hey, actually, like I was talking to another client about this. Like, here's what I would do instead. If you don't mind me showing you, like, will that be helpful? People will inevitably like want to work with you. And again, like it's just so easy to stand
So
out.
basically give
Uh, yeah, basically, yes, yes. Anyone have anything else there?
Yeah, I mean, the bar is low and I think that's like fortunately and unfortunately. Like fortunately for the people that get in it for the right reasons that like truly want to help people and serve. Fortunately the bar is low because you can absolutely get in there and make a difference. unfortunately, because the bar is low. Like, so, I see a lot of
Yeah.
really bad in-person training. And I'm shaking my head like, wow.
Don't be on your fucking phone.
Right.
It's just like it's crazy. It's insane the amount of trainers I see where they're like texting and they're
It's not
like ignoring their
it's just
client.
not that
It's
hard to
wild,
like
dude.
give a shit. But I think also I would offer some advice to the career transitioner because I am someone that did that like years ago. Um, don't count yourself out because you have so much perspective. Because, everyone wants to talk about the like 20-year-old trainer that's like, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It says to like the 40-year-old mom of 5 with 2
Yeah.
jobs. It's like, we have the same 24. It's like, no, no, you don't. But like if you're, a career transitioner, as this person is who was talking to me, like you have that perspective. Like you've held the corporate job. Like like you are a parent. Like you've had to juggle all of this. And not only will that help your clients navigate you that not only will that help you navigate help your clients navigate that, but it also like just from a communication standpoint, like, it makes you so much more human and likable because again to my point you're spending like an hour with these people if you're in person and like yeah they're just if you want to help people I think that's number one is like be in it for the right reasons and do it because you really want to help and be effective um and just start because if you just kind of wait until you take the next course and take the next course and take the next course like I promise like once you get in there and start getting your hands dirty you will always have questions. You will never arrive at the place where you're like, you know what, finally I know it all.
Yeah. And almost think of it like testing, and there's gonna be like you'll run into a stopping bottleneck. Like I can't help a client with this. Cool. That's like an easy like you actually just starting and like okay, let's send it. Let's see how this works out. Cool. And like again, your clients, the obstacles they have that you don't know how to solve will show you where you need to learn next. It's as simple as that. Anything else before we wrap this up from y'all?
One more thing that I told her was when I said just like, pick a basic certification and get it so you can like start and get your foot in the door. But like once you start getting people results and helping people, those certifications seem to matter less, which is funny, because no one that works with me now is like, are you precision nutrition certified? And like by the way, I am. And I also still maintain my like ISSA personal trainer, like just to say that I have it. But like I can't remember the last time a client signing on was like, yes, what are your certifications? Because it's like, here's my portfolio. Like I have proof of
Yeah.
concept. But until you
Yeah.
have proof of concept, sometimes you do need those like basic level certifications.
For sure. Cool. All right. Well, hopefully this was helpful. As always, we appreciate all the good questions. We appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, do us a huge favor, leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you would like to apply for coaching with the team, hit the link in the show notes, and we will catch you guys next time.